Okay, hello and welcome. Frank Bonada here for LowKick MMA. Today I'm joined by Julian Erosa following his exhilarating TKO finish over Nate Landwehr at UFC Vegas 19. How you doing, Julian?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, brother. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's get straight into it. Talk about your fight with Nate. Well, first of all, any post-fight injuries at all?
Oh, no, I got, pretty unscathed. It was only a minute long, and it's always nice to get in and out of there and have that type of performance and not have to worry about any injuries.
Yeah, no doubt. So the fight itself, did it go how you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I figured I was gonna be, the quicker guy, and I felt like I was uh, outclassing him in every aspect of MMA. But I thought, I figured for sure he was just gonna be a tough, durable guy. The only thing that really surprised me was, the fact that I was able to finish him so quick. And that doesn't surprise me on my end, but watching his fights, he's a durable guy. He's a tough guy, and he's a guy that likes to put the pace on people. And but so am I. So everything kind of happened the way I figured it would. It just happened a little bit quicker than I thought.
Hmm. So yeah, you did almost get dropped early on, like went down to one knee. How rocked were you in that moment?
I think it was a little bit of a off balance as well as
Yeah.
getting hit. I really wasn't rocked. There was a slight, um, like a slight hesitation that I had because of it. It didn't flash me. It just was like more of like it hit me and I kind of fell over at the same time. And I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of like anytime something like that looks bad in a fight or even in training for me happens, it kind of lights a fuse and then I'm just going. So it's almost like the gun at a race. As soon as that happens, like you just take off sprinting, and that's kind of what happened. Everything was pretty technical, and then that happened, and then it was just like an all-out brawl for about 15 seconds, and then I kind of pushed him off of me and hit that flying knee, and I was able to finish it. But for me, uh, I just figured, regardless of if he was able to hit me and hurt me with anything, or vice versa, that my instinctual, reaction timing was going to be a lot quicker than his, and so I felt like me and him are both hurt a little bit. I landed a couple shots on him as well, in the mix of everything at that when he had hit me as well. So I felt that even though we were both maybe a little bit hurt a tiny bit, I think I just felt like my instinctual quickness was gonna outbeat him, and that's kind of what happened. I felt like I landed a couple uppercuts, a couple good shots, and then landed that knee, and it looked like he was kind of lost on his feet when the barrage started happening. So as much as I wanted to be more technical in this fight, I love brawling just like the next guy, and the fans love it too. So why not give it a little bit of a go?
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more as a fan. Um, so the finish itself, were you looking for the flying knee? Like, was that a key part of your preparation, or is it a technique that you particularly try to utilize in fights?
Oh, for sure. I love the little skip knee, where you kind of jump off one knee and then you hit him with the other knee, and it kind of just creates a lot of velocity. I'll do that with like the front teep kick. I'll do kind of a jumping teep kick as well. Um, but I mean, I'm so long. I'm nothing but legs and arms, and so uh, I have a really good ability of bringing my legs up really fast and really quick like that. Actually, I did have a game plan. I was just gonna come out. Uh, blazing, and just I was gonna just running. I was gonna do a running knee right off the jump, just like Masvidal did to Askren. But I was looking over across at him, and he just seemed like he would be like a little too aware right in the beginning of a fight to do that. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to get too aggressive and then get taken down. I have to work my way up. Although I did feel really superior on the like I'd be really superior on the ground. I just didn't want to have to deal with unnecessary work right in the beginning just because I wanted to get crazy right away. And so I kind of switched that, and I figured I'd fill him out a little bit. But I love that skip knee, man. I mean, if you look at a few other fights that I've had, I've landed that on a few other guys as well. And so, but I never really knocked anybody out. I do it in practice a lot. I mean, obviously in practice we're going a lot easier. We got knee pads on and stuff as well. So I've never put anybody fully out like that and hurt them that badly with it. But I think, it was a combination of him leaning in with my knee coming up. So, it definitely added to it, and, was able to put him out with it.
Well, as you say, it was a really spectacular finish. Do you think you deserved a performance bonus?
Oh, man. I keep hearing everybody keeps telling me that I got robbed for it. And, I got a performance bonus last time. And last time I didn't know if I was going to get one. I wasn't even expecting it last time. And it's kind of like, it's a little bit ironic because last time I wasn't expecting it and got it. And this time I was kind of expecting it and didn't get it. And so, um, uh, it's tough when there's so many finishes on a fight card. But the thing that bothers me the most is that there was a couple of finishes that for sure I think were good and bonus worthy if there wasn't like a flying knee as well. Olenek got finished on his feet, a standing TKO, which is kind of like, it's a good finish, but it's like, is it deserving of a bonus if a guy just did a flying knee knockout? And then also Dana White had put me and Nate Landwehr on the if you don't know now you know on the UFC Instagram. So I thought that he was already watching out for our fight, and then the fact that I was able to do that to a guy that's so durable and tough like Landwehr is, be able to smoke him that quick. I figured for sure I was going to get a bonus because, Olenek is, he's a tough old vet, but he's more known for his jujitsu. He's more known for his Ezekiel choke. So his stand up's not the best, and the guy that he fights, good stand up, and I think is way levels above Olenek on the feet. And for him to finish Olenek on the feet like that wasn't surprising, But for me to land that knee on Landwehr and put him out as quick as I did is kind of surprising because people, you think of Landwehr as a really tough, durable guy, that's willing to go 15 hard minutes. And so, it is what it is. And, but for me, I'm more happy with the outcome and just being able to get some traction in the UFC and also just to open up and show people my diversity. Now I'm like 11 knockouts and 11 submissions, and I'm like 90% finish rate. So it's just nice to have my last two fights be a submission with a Darce choke, which is always a pretty sweet submission to have, and then and a flying knee knockout. So not only was it a submission and a knockout, but they're really good ones. The flying knee is a fantastic knockout finish, and then a Darce choke is a fantastic submission finish. So just having that in itself is already I'm cool with, and the bonus is just the cherry on top if you get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But you presume a flying knee deserves a bonus. But you just mentioned, yeah, your previous victory, the Darce choke over Woodson. Two almost completely different striking opponents, really, with Landwehr and Woodson, and two very highly touted fighters as well. What do you think the two victories over them? Where do you think that leaves you in the UFC heavyweight roster?
Uh, you know, it's so crazy because like the rankings can be like it's kind of weird. Like I think as of right now, like I'm above a guy like Elkins or something, but it's like Elkins is a huge UFC vet. I have a losing UFC record, but it's like it's all about who you beat and when you beat him. Like Landwehr beat Elkins, which I thought it was a close fight, man. He won by split decision. I think it could have gone either way. I think Elkins was unlucky that he got cut with that headbutt early on in the fight, and it made it look bad. So I think that's why he lost that split decision. And then he obviously couldn't take Landwehr down and do what he wanted to him like he normally does. And so I think it's just all about timing and who you beat. He beat Elkins, who's a big vet, and so that kind of like catapulted Landwehr up pretty high. And then for me to beat Landwehr the way I did, kind of puts me in front of him now. So um, I think it kind of puts me in the mix. It's kind of the top 30 guys in the division, and it's nice to be like kind of up there. And there's a lot of good dudes around me in those rankings. And I mean, obviously, I want to keep building my way, up that ladder. But I don't want to do it too fast. I don't want to like just start trying to fight top 10 dudes or 15. Some of these killers because it's like sometimes you get this momentum and then you get a loss or you get two losses, and even if it's like some of the best in the world, the top 10 guys, it can just look bad, and it can be bad for you mentally, physically, and emotionally. So for me, I think as of right now, even though I'm kind of sitting right, kind of a lower, like kind of like still kind of in the medium area of the featherweights. I still want to get a couple good fights over some decent dudes sitting where I'm sitting. I don't want to just jump in and try to fight Barbosa or somebody. I don't want to. I feel like I could still kind of build some more momentum with getting a couple of these other guys. I wanted to fight a guy like Caceres. I thought was a good fight for me. It'd be a fun fight. I wanted to fight Jordan Griffin. He's kind of where I'm at as well. There's a couple guys like that I would like to fight, and that I think would give me good fights and put kind of chase some bonuses down as well. And kind of have some fun. People always talking about trying to chase a belt, but it's like for me, fighting is just something I love to do, and I would love to fight for a belt eventually. But it's like what's more realistic for me is to just go out there and put on performances like I did against guys like that. And so, you know, as some like Bobby Green was doing an interview recently, and he was just like, they asked him about the belt, and he's like, "Fuck no." He's like, "I made almost $500,000 last year. I'm just fighting because it's fun and make me some money." Like, I kind of have that same mentality. I want to go out there and have a good time and enjoy what I do, and not put too much pressure on going for something shiny. I'd rather be able to support my family and enjoy it along the process as well.
Yeah, no, I like that mentality a lot. I think not enough fighters follow that. But that said, within that top 15, are there any matchups that do appeal to you?
Man, I can't remember who's all in the top 15. That's the problem. Shoot, man. God, who I don't even know who's really in the top 15. I mean, I'll fight anybody, really. Honestly, if I get the right, I mean, I always tell my coach this. I say if somebody can make 145 pounds on Friday and can fight me on Saturday, I should never be afraid of them. Because they're not going to have any advantage in size on me or whatever the situation is, or strength or whatever. I should be able to be okay with fighting anybody that can make 146 on Friday. Should be able to feel comfortable fighting them on Saturday, regardless of who they are. If it's Max Holloway, Volkanovski, any of these guys, am I deserving of it? Probably not. But I'll fight any of those guys and anybody that can make that weight. If you show up and you make that weight, I'll see you on Saturday and we'll fight. And so, obviously there's circumstantial things that go along with that as well. Like, I would take short notice fights at 55 against another featherweight at 55, or as somebody that matches up well with me that fights at 55 as well. So, there's nobody. I mean, I really don't have any names. I mean, the only guys I was saying was like Jordan Griffin and Caceres, but that was only because I asked my manager to see if Jordan Griffin wanted to fight me, and I never got an answer back. And then Caceres, I've always just been a fan of his, and I feel like me and him have two different striking styles, but they're both entertaining. I feel like me and him would put on a good show for everybody. So that's the only reason why I'd want to fight him as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Caceres is matched up with Kevin Kroom this coming weekend. Could be one to keep your eye out for.
So regardless of what happens this weekend, I mean, I just fought, and then he'll fight, and who knows? Maybe we can find it, in May or something, May or June, and have a few months, get ready, and fight each other, down the line. But it'll be nice because, like, if he does decent, or if he, even whatever happens, if he doesn't get hurt, whatever, that we have basically fought around the same time, so we can, maybe line something up at the same time as well.
Yeah. Well, that leads me on to another question that I always like getting fighters' takes on. When you watch a fight like Caceres versus Kroom, do you watch it from, and this goes for any fight in the featherweight division, do you watch it from a analytic standpoint? Are you analyzing these people who might be your future opponents, or do you watch it from more of a fan perspective, just enjoying the fight for what it is?
Yeah, I think 100%. If you're watching any fight that's in your weight class, you're always thinking about what you would do and how you would perform against these guys. 100%. I've done that, for years. Watching the UFC every weekend and being like, man, I bet I could beat that guy. Like, especially when you're not in the UFC, watching UFC guys, you're like, man, I know I could probably beat that guy. That guy doesn't seem that good, or whatever the situation is. And so you're always, analyzing these guys. And especially when it's your weight class. When I think I become more of a fan when I'm watching other weight classes, because I don't have to worry about that. And I mean, unless it's like a 55 or 35ers, because those guys can kind of move up and down, and they could be future opponents as well. But if it's your weight class, it's always analytical. And then other weight classes, I feel like you become more of a fan. But I'm always a fan as well, especially when it's like, the exciting guys like the Cater versus fucking Holloway fight, even Cater versus Dan Ige. I train with Dan Ige, so anytime Dan's fighting, I'm always a huge fan watching him. And he's such a sweet dude, and he's a stud in the gym as well. So it's always fun to watch him. And I don't see myself fighting Dan. I mean, me and him are, we train together, and it just be, it's something you really like to fight training partners unless you have to. And so for me, I can be a fan because I don't expect to fight him anytime soon, or at all at any time. So I can kind of just be that fanboy with him at my weight class. But yeah, most everybody else, you're just like, man, I could do this, or that guy doesn't seem that good, or I would do this to that guy, or I'll smoke that guy, or that guy seems like he'd be a tough matchup for me, and things like that. I think every fighter does that, especially at their own weight class.
Okay, great. No, it's an interesting take onto your sort of philosophy of watching fights. So this is your, I guess, technically your third tenure with the UFC, and you've also fought Cage Warriors, Ultimate Fighter, all around the block, really. Has that time fighting in between the UFC and your previous UFC tenures, has that led to a change in training or mentality that you're bringing to the UFC now? Because the performances that you're putting on are well, they're really impressive performances against high-level opposition. So is there any change to how you were when you first came into the UFC?
For sure, 100%. When I first got in the UFC, years ago from the Ultimate Fighter, and then and then I went 0-3 before I got back in with Woodson. I felt like I think I felt like I deserved it to be there, and so there was maybe a lack of hunger there a little bit. Like, oh, I deserve to be here, so like this is like this, it's all good. Like, I deserve to. And then after getting kicked out, you kind of get that hunger back. You're like, holy shit, like this could all be over within one fight. One night, you could lose everything. Like you could lose your livelihood, you could lose half your paycheck, you could lose your you get injured, you could lose your entire career because maybe you get hurt or something. So for me, I you don't get younger, and so me being 31 and getting that shot with Woodson, I just told myself, it's do or die here. Like I already knew, like if I lost that fight against Woodson, and I was, a lot of people said I was the sheep going to be slaughtered that night, and so I just used kind of all that as kind of a new hunger for me to go in there and just give everything I had. I honestly didn't care if I won or lost against Woodson. All I wanted to do was just go and perform like I do in the gym, and put on a fight that I was deserving of. And obviously it worked out for me that night, and I was able to push through and kind of personify my training into that fight and who I am into that fight. And so I think just kind of turning a new leaf, and just being like, it's like just thinking more of it as like a do or die thing. Like if this is the last thing people see me do in the UFC, how do I want them to remember it? Like, do I want to go out and make it look like, like I didn't want to be there, or should I go out there and give everything I have? And even if I lose, I always want to make sure people know that I was fucking in that fight and I was ready to go 100%, and I wanted to be there 100%. I don't want people to think, oh, he doesn't deserve to be there, And so I think with the Woodson fight and then this fight, mentally, that's what really helped me out, was just to go out there and just be like, if this tonight is the last night that I get to do this, let's just fucking go for it, And I was, I was willing to die in that cage when I fought Landwehr, and even Sean Woodson. I was willing to, I was willing to die, and not literally, because I mean, I'm never probably gonna die from a fight, but like I said, if that was gonna be the death of my UFC career, I was willing to give everything I had that night. So, that's kind of the maturity that's happened to me within these stints in the UFC, and having to go back to these regional shows and getting paid nothing, basically. I mean, you're you're getting paid pennies compared to the UFC. You know, when you're going to fight on some of these regional shows and having to travel super far, having to, you know, deal with these, you know, these lower level shows where it's not as professional. You know, you're weighing in at 7 p.m. versus 9 a.m. You know, these things all add up, and it really just makes you realize how awesome it is to be in the UFC and to fight for them. And so, you know, it's one of the, and it's so funny because one of the most like kind of one of the smaller things is that on these regional shows they don't want to pay the commission to be there all day, so they pay the commission to be there at night for weigh-in. So they'll weigh in. You know, all the most regional shows you weigh in at like 7 p.m. It's like Jesus Christ. In the UFC, when I make weight at 9 a.m. by 7 p.m., I could fight at 7 p.m. that night if I wanted to. I just feel so good. I'm like already just hydrated. I'm refueled. I'm ready to rock and roll. But these regional shows, I'm not even going to bed 100% hydrated. I wake up the next morning, I'm still a little bit, you know, dry mouth, and I still feel like my body's dealing with that weight cut. And so just like small things like that, just like, you know, really add up and make you really appreciate fighting in the UFC.
No doubt. So as we start to wrap up, what are your goals for 2021? 2021, sorry. Yeah. What do you want to achieve by the end of the year?
Yeah, you know, I'm hoping to get I want to get a few fights done. You know, I want to stay active as long as I'm healthy, and you know, just stay healthy, stay active. Um, you know, and get, you know, just to get a couple of fights lined up that, you know, I feel like I could be a favorite in. You know, most of the fights in the UFC, I'm always the underdog, so it'd be nice to be a favorite, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that'd be. I mean, I like being a dog too because it always kind of gives you a little bit of an edge, I think. But just get some good fights lined up, but stay healthy, stay active, and I would preferably like to fight every 3 to 4 months. So I'm hoping, you know, to get at least a couple more fights in this year. You know, it sucks to have to deal with injuries and the coronavirus, and, you know, be out for 8 months. You know, 8 months in between fights is not ideal, but, you know, you can only do as much as your body will let you and circumstances will let you. So, but as long as I can stay healthy, you know, maybe, and hopefully not get coronavirus again, and or deal with any infections, I would love to get back in there in the next 3 to 4 months.
Awesome, awesome. Well, actually, one last thing on LowKick MMA at the moment, we're doing predictions for the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren boxing match. I wondered if we could get your prediction.
Man, I don't even know because I really don't know much about Jake Paul. Like I had no idea that he was actually a pretty good wrestler in like college, and so and it seems like he's been training boxing, and who knows, maybe he's been training boxing since he was a little kid, and he just like never really took it serious until now. And obviously he beat, you know, Nate Robinson, who's like not a fighter really, and so he looked good doing that, but that was against somebody that doesn't know what he's doing really, you know. And so Askren, he's kind of got some horrible boxing, but at the same time, the guy has been in combat sports for such a long time that even though you might not have the best boxing ability, you've just been in there so much. You know, he has so much experience, and unorthodox striking can be more deadly than a guy with really slick good boxing. So you know, I would see it all the time. I'd go train with pro boxers, and I would give them fits because they'd be like, man, like you're so like your boxing so like unorthodox. And I'm like, well, that's just kind of that's how I fight. And you know, I think that can translate good for a guy like Ben Askren if he's able to use that, you know, because obviously like a guy like Jake Paul is probably in the gym, not training with MMA fighters, he's probably training with boxers. So Askren's probably the furthest thing away from a boxer in his skill set. So I think he could use that to his advantage. But I mean, when you're talking about strict boxing, I think Jake Paul is going to have the edge in the actual skill, but toughness, experience, I got to give it to Askren. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but I really don't know who's going to win that fight.
That does seem to be the general consensus. Askren's tough. Paul might be able to box, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, that's all I got for you today, Julian. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us. Any shout outs or final words?
Yeah, obviously, I want to just say thank you. First off, to you for having me on the show. All my friends and family, you know, my training partners, my coaches, my management, all my sponsorships. You know, if I start naming things off, I'm going to forget too many of them, so I just don't do that. But I always post everything mainly on my Instagram, my new Instagram, Julian_Erosa, because my last one got hacked. Once you get that blue check mark, man, everybody wants it, I guess. And so hopefully I'll get verified again soon. But yeah, Julian_Erosa is usually where I have all my sponsorships, all my social content. And if you want to get a hold of me, have any questions, I usually respond pretty well to my Instagram. So yeah, reach out to me on that if you have any questions. And yeah, that'll about do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on, and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it, brother. You
Our
have
pleasure.
a good day.
Cheers.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.